and fingers crossed. Fingers crossed we'll have a bit more joy. Let's just check it out just to make sure that everything is working. I think that it is, but to be sure. So let's just double check that everything is okay. It says excellent there, so hopefully it's coming through. I'm hoping so, because I wanted to get into this. Does it seem to be working now? That's a bit weird, isn't it, how that happens? I don't know. Seems to be working now. Funny little thing, isn't it? That's what she said. Right, let's just check the other one. I think it's working now. I think we're all good. Are we all good? We are all good. Hey! Right, cool, it's working now. Right, okay, we're working. Fantastic. Right, so I'll start again. Welcome to the Gavin Ramon Show, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that everyone is keeping well. I hope everyone's having a lovely day. It's cooled down a little bit in terms of the weather, which is nice. Although I do love the sun. All sorted now. Yeah, so I'll start that again. The reason I was late is because Ben and Spartan there in chat were delaying me by forcing me to play a video game, which I don't like playing, because I think if you're playing a video game, you've got to sort of get a princess at the end of the game. You've got to get something at the end of the game. Otherwise, you're just playing a monotonous a circular of life, but in a negative light. So hello, Minnie. How are you? So it seems as though the Daily Express newspaper has been calling out SADIQ KHAN, the grooming gangs and everything else. And we all know that it's been going on for decades and decades and decades. This gentleman with the shaved head, the bald head, has done an investigation. So if you've not seen it, I really recommend. I think he's done 3 or 4 videos interviewing girls, stuff that involved Keir Starmer, things that were covered up, and it's really, really good. And today, the London Assembly questioned SADIQ KHAN, our very own rat, the biggest parasite of London. So let's see what he had to say. Is there going to be more deflection, or is he going to take responsibility and admit that he'd been lying? Let's see.
With these stories, it can be incredibly hard to, you can completely believe what a source is telling you, but then the part of proving it can be really, really difficult. We took a different approach when we were doing our big investigation, which we went to the public record to see, because my colleague Callum Cudderford had done a FOI to all of the councils whether they had any grooming gangs investigations. Now, they all came back and said they either couldn't find information on it or they didn't have any, which was very strange, because when we started digging into the council's own documents, we found stuff like Hounslow Council had produced a magazine in the mid-2010s that literally described a grooming gang story of a real case study and reported they'd had more people that had come out that.
And I'm expecting SADIQ KHAN to go like he did before. Well, can you explain what that means?
Fast forward, when Callum did his FOI, Hounslow Council were the only ones that came back and said, oh, we did actually have a grooming gang investigation. As he probed it, they said, oh no, actually, that was a resident of Hounslow and it didn't exist there. So what had happened that their own communications
That's
had
really
said
weird.
this,
It's happening
and
again,
then that they were going around jumping through hoops to
What on earth is
explain that they
causing
didn't
that?
have this issue. And this is,
I never get this. Hang on a second. That shouldn't be happening. Let's just see if we can sort this. I don't know what's causing that, because everything on here says good signal. Like when I'm looking on the signal thing, it says stream health is excellent. Maybe it's my capture card. Let me unplug my capture card and plug it back in. The stream's not going to end, but I'm going to unplug it and put it back in and see if that fixes it. No, because that video's... No, I don't have nothing else open, Nick. I've got the camera on and sending the signal to stream. There's nothing else on. Everything, the video that we're watching is coming from another computer. This is on Windows. So it's going to cut off a second. But you should still be hearing audio. The audio should still be coming through, but you're not seeing anything. That's just my capture card, which enables me to send the signal. Hopefully, hopefully this will fix it. If it doesn't, then we're in a bit of a pickle, because we don't need a pickle, do we? Let's just see what's going on there. Let's check on restarted capture card. It seems to be going. Sometimes it's that video. It's this. I've got 3 monitors. Sometimes it's one of the monitors. So let me just double check if you lot can still see me. Can you lot still see? It lags when I play the video.
One of the key things with London,
let's see what happens.
It's been there the whole time, and actually, you know, back through and you look at the old media reports, it's referred to in a different way. We just didn't have the terms. And the remarkable thing, actually, a lot of councils, after what happened in Rochdale and what happened in Rotherham, they started looking into it themselves and they produced reports on it. But then all of a sudden, quiet, and then it suddenly became, this doesn't exist here. And so, like, we've put all
You're
of.
right. It's as soon as I push. It's as soon as I push play on the video. What on earth? We've never had this before. How strange. Maybe if I take off the video a second. Let's see what happens if I turn that off. That's all working. So I need to restart the PC. It's the PC that's playing up. Can you believe it? It's not the Mac crappy, which you're always going on about. Maybe it's just the PC saying, you know what? I'm not in the mood today. Let me restart the PC and we'll try again. My goodness. It's all fun and games, ain't it? I'll tell you one thing that's wonderful, though. I don't know about all of you, ladies and gents. I ordered a curry today and I had chicken tikka masala, the red. Oh my God, the chicken tikka. Wow-wee, was that lovely. You cannot beat chicken tikka. And I got chili paneer, some naan bread, because you can't beat a bit of naan bread. The chili paneer was actually hot chili. Normally chili paneer is quite, what's the word? Not bland. What's the word? It's quite subtle. Subtle. It's not like hot. But today's chili paneer, wow-wee. I think they chopped up a few little extras in there for me. But I do like the hot stuff. Ask any of the ladies. But yeah, so it seems we've got a few little... hang on, Mr. PC. 5... Right, okay. So fingers crossed, this will be resolved now. Maybe, maybe not. But I'm optimistic that it's going to be working just fine. I think it might have just been... Do you know what it might be? You know what it might be? You know that I told you Rex and Ben kept me on a video game all day? That was still in the background. And I've got a feeling that's slowed down the computer. So to be honest with you, you've got to sort of take this up with Ben and Rex, because I'm too old for games, like childish video games. But these fellas have got this thing about forcing me to play games. I mean, I didn't even want a PC, but they basically twisted me arm. Is it still doing it? It does it when it comes on. So it's to do with my capture card or something. Look. That's making me sad. Or is it okay now? I'm going to just keep rocking and see what happens. Let's try again.
Sources of the stuff that we've looked at, and I would encourage everyone to look at it for themselves.
Are we working? We'll try for another couple of minutes. If anything, if it still keeps happening, we will switch over completely to the Mac and do it like we used to do it, because it worked. Don't be like that. Hello, Marty. I know it's very weird. It's very weird, but it's all part of the excitement. These things happen, ladies and gentlemen. So let's just try again. It's all good now, right?
With these stories,
it
it
might
can
just
be
be the capture
incredibly
card. Something
hard
was just
you can completely believe what a source is telling you.
Here we go.
But then the part of proving it can be really, really difficult. We took a different approach when we were doing our big investigation, which we went to the public record to see, because my colleague Callum Cuddiford had done a FOI to all of the councils about whether they had any grooming investigations. Now, they all came back and said they either couldn't find information on it or they didn't have any, which was very strange because we started digging into the council's own documents. We found stuff like Hounslow Council had produced a magazine in the mid-2010s where they had literally described a grooming gang story of a real case study and reported people that had come forward about that.
It's all plugged in correctly, Species. I thank you, sir.
Fast forward to when Callum did his FOI, Hounslow Council were the only ones that came back and said, oh, we did actually have a grooming gang investigation. As he probed it, they said, oh, no, actually, that was a resident of Hounslow and it didn't exist there. Again, isn't it? So what had happened that their own communications had said this, and then that they were going around,
he started doing it again,
jumping through hoops to explain that they didn't have this issue. And this is, I think, one of the key things with London, which is it's been the whole time. And actually, when you go back through and you look at the old media.
Yeah, it's definitely that. So what I'm going to do is, hopefully, we will be able to switch to my Mac and we'll just use that. And hopefully, we haven't done this in a while. So hopefully I'll be able to just share the screen from my other Mac screen. It might be my PC needs an update or something like that. But it's, at the moment, it's just sort of saying, no, thank you, sir. No, thank you. Right now, the problem we've got, yeah, it might just be the PC. I've never had that before, so let's see if we can get this working via this. I don't know if you're going to hear audio. I don't know if it's even going to work. Let's see if we can screen share. Screen share. Right, let's see if we can do it. Please work. Please work, Mr. Computer. Where were we? And it'll just be for today that we do it this way. It might just be that this PC's playing up. What a pain. This
produced a magazine in the mid-2010s where they had actually described a grooming gang story of a real case study.
You can probably hear it. I can't hear it.
They had more people that had come forward.
It's one of them days, isn't it?
Now, fast forward to when Callum did his FOI, Hounslow Council were the only ones that came back and said, oh, we did actually have a grooming gang investigation. As he probed it, they said, oh, no, actually, that was a resident of Hounslow and it didn't exist there. So what had happened that their own communications had said this, and then that they were going around jumping through hoops to explain that they didn't have this issue. And this is, I think, one of the key things with London, which is it's been there the whole time.
It's a problem with the PC then.
When you go back through and you look at the old media reports, it's just referred to in a different way. We just didn't have the terms. And the remarkable thing is, actually, a lot of councils, after what happened in Rochdale and what happened in Rotherham, they started looking into it themselves and they produced reports on it. But then all of a sudden, it just went quiet. And then it suddenly became, this doesn't exist here. And so, we've put all of the kind of sources of the stuff that we've looked at, and I would encourage everyone to look at it for themselves. But that is a thing that really needs to be pushed, is we need transparency about what was known by these organisations. I think the important question is, why is it still happening, right? And
because it's not being resolved. I think we all know this, boys and girls.
I'll go through it and some of the stuff that we dug up, and one of those was that the Sunday Times ran on its front page that Levi Belfield was linked to the grooming gang in West London, right? That had a report from a council worker that said that the group involved in that, because they had not faced any kind of justice, because they were out there committing their crimes and it was so well known, they felt untouchable. Those are literally the words that were used by that council worker. And the problem that we've had here is we have not acknowledged the problem. Like I say, you get you know, the head of the Met here, who sat here, he sat here years back and said it's not something that he sees. So what happened there? Why was he not seeing it? Why did the mayor think that there was no indication? And
the mayor knew. The mayor of London knew. They all know. If they don't know, let's look at it and be constructive. Just instead of just being insulting for a second, yeah. Let's just say for a second that the mayor of London, the prime minister, the previous prime minister, say all of them were completely unaware of 30 years, 40 years of abuse of children. If they didn't know that, then surely none of them are fit for purpose. If they did know that, that means they're responsible. Either way,
all of us were able
it's
to
on
find
them.
It, and we need a big prosecution. The police need to bring people to justice. And once that happens, the floodgates will open.
Do you want to come in at this stage before I bring in Assemblymember Roberts?
Yeah, thank you. We've just been talking about how you collated your evidence and validated it. And I think one of the things that ties these grooming cases together is the public institutions and the lack of trust and the overlooking that's happened there. So I wondered, in your investigations, which, by the way, thank you to all the work that all of you have done, in your investigations, did you find in London that there was the same kind of neglect or overlooking in those public institutions? And to what extent is that still happening? Or because, Charlie, you were saying that social workers were actually very keen to bring you evidence, which I suppose recognises a change from what we've seen in other areas in the past. So how open did you find public institutions? I don't know if anyone wants to.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. Survivors often don't trust people, authorities, police, social workers.
That's because they've failed them for so long.
It takes a lot for them to even speak to us, let alone speak to people who are actively really trying to help them and change their lives. What I found from my investigation was that there was a hesitancy, if you like,
you're right,
on
Simon.
behalf of some of these girls,
Yeah,
to tell their stories in such detail that they sometimes told me. You know, that they were worried about stating certain facts to social workers, for example. They were worried about being judged, and I think that looms large. I think there's a real issue with feeling as if you're being judged by people in authority. But saying that, I also agree with Charlie. I mean, in some cases, social workers are right at the heart of this, and they're the ones that are kind of encouraging these girls to go further and to.
And the funny thing is, they've got this mindset of, why don't they trust anyone? Why don't they trust the system? It was the one that we covered just the other day. Was it Monday, I believe, where there was a woman from the Midlands, and she was being interviewed by Channel 4 or one of those, and she said, like many of these now ladies that were girls at the time, that they were just completely ignored, or they were told, you know, you're responsible, or they got arrested for it. Where one of these girls was 12, I think she said, and she was approached by a guy who was 22, 23. And then it was like she was the one in the wrong. The whole thing is backwards, and it doesn't help with this knife attack that we've had over what was last December that's just come to light. And Ben rightly pointed out, why has it taken so long? Why has it taken 6 months for the public to know about this case? Because when we see something like this, the Novak case, we go, well, oh my God, was that last week? No, 6 months ago. Why didn't we know about this? Because they know of the backlash, so they try and cover this kind of stuff up, just like this. Hence why the women or girls at the time and girls today don't come forward and don't speak out because they're not trusted.
Report their cases to the police if they can.
Just to pick up on there, do you see that sort of institutional failure in London where social workers were referring to these predators as boyfriends and things like that? Or so there were still those failings quite present.
Yeah.
And how open were institutions about those failings with you when you were looking for evidence?
Okay.
Absolutely not open at all. I mean, the problem that we have in London is that it became acceptable to just deny that this was happening.
SADIQ
The
KHAN.
Children's Services Department at the councils in all of your wards will know that this has happened.
Yep.
And what they did after the scandals in Rochdale and Rotherham is they set up these safeguarding boards. And on paper, they're a really good idea, right? You've got the police in there, you've got children's services, you've got NHS, all the people that...
And I'm hoping he's going to say that's all great that you've got all of the people that you're supposed to have, but they're all partly responsible for it happening in the first place. So they're not going to want it to come out.
should be able to join the dots and bring things together. Big problem is transparency. I can't FOI them. So we don't know what they've done, how effective they've been, and all we know is what they put forward.
So just trust the government because they will sort it.
I think the thing that really needs to be demanded in London are the same levels of transparency that occurred in Rochdale and Rotherham. There needs to be cleaning of house because, yes, it's the same pattern that you always see, which is the child comes, the social worker will often be, or the children's home will be aware of the abuse that's going on. They'll kind of overlook it or, not deal with it in the correct way. And then actually the only cases often that we know about are the worst ones. Like I've seen in Rachel's work, in the work that we've done, serious case reviews. When the child dies, they cannot hide that information anymore. It ends up on the public record.
Yep, exactly like the one we've just seen with the video with the stabbing. Until it happens and it's something that you cannot hide, it gets brushed under the carpet,
That is disgraceful that is the only time that we get transparency around what has gone on in some of these areas.
Thank you all very much. And just in terms of, is there any data available either within London or nationally of what proportion of people, say, have been in the care system who have been abused in this way?
So the problem that we have in London is that we've just not got a handle on this issue. I mean, the reason that you've got journalists
not
that sat in front of
London
you today is because there's not been an acknowledgement.
The Mayor of
this
London,
issue in London.
the Mayor of London hasn't got a hold of it. The Mayor of London, he's the one who oversees things. He's the one who's supposed to say, right, knife crime is too high. We need more police. He is the one who looks around and people approach that person, that head figure, and say, hang on, it doesn't mean that he's the one who can get it all sorted. But the fact is, he's the Mayor of London and he's in his third term. Is it his third term and he's going to do his fourth? So what on earth is he doing then? Denying it all.
Therefore had the kind of studies, the reports that need to, in places like Rochdale and Rotherham, there have been massive reckonings, there have been independent
I agree with you,
inquiries.
Rex.
We've not had that. So we're providing you with the information because there aren't those other people that might be able to come in and give you more information on that. Well, that was certainly in my experience.
Just a quick question, Zach. Following up on what you said earlier about, and I think you've now opened another can of worms on this as well, but people within the care sector being involved, either through facilitating or direct involvement within the gang, how big of an issue is that in London?
Absolutely massive. Absolutely massive. One of the issues is because it's a wild west out there in terms of some of these care homes, and they can be very easily infiltrated by people with bad intentions. And get some people from the care sector, up here and ask them, because they will lay it.
And talking about infiltration, it's the same as we've been talking about in terms of the police, in terms of the government, in terms of MPs. There was a guy we were talking about yesterday who runs the 5 Pillars of Islam, which is a journalist, a British Muslim journalist. And he went on this tirade because SADIQ KHAN went and done his pilgrimage. And I mentioned it yesterday. He went and done this pilgrimage, this religious pilgrimage. And when he got back to the UK, he attacked him on Twitter, X, because SADIQ KHAN had posted about the LGBTQ Pride Month. And now, today, I'll show you it after this, he's gone on and doubled down how Islam does not accept homosexuality, it's wrong, and everything else. I'm just going to say it in plain English. What right do you have to be in England then? If your mindset is that your faith is above our country, our government, and our laws, and you're above that, you're better than us, fuck off. That's how I look at it.
Greater detail with a raft of cases. when we took
The reason they're talking about London, Ben, is because the Rochdale investigation was done and supposedly concluded, which we still haven't seen the total results of, and it's only been pressure for them to do something in London. But again, I completely agree with you. It's the whole country. It should. That's why it's called a national grooming gang inquiry. It should be the entire country. I wholeheartedly agree with you.
Grooming gang cases. We took them to Maggie Oliver, but we also took them to a guy called Chris Wilde, who's really an amazing campaigner and within the care space. And what was so chill about what he would say was he'd look through them and go, "Oh well, that's
Hi,
very common.
Jane.
Yeah, that I know about 20 of those." It's absolutely huge. But yeah, in terms of people on the inside, it's terrifyingly massive. And then it comes down to that transparency part, which is it's only when we get whistleblowers that come forward. We don't really know how many investigations there might have taken place into this stuff because they don't have to make it public.
Thanks, Charlie. Is there anything else you wanted to
And
say?
Yeah, I think within the care sector, in terms of frontline workers, there are so many instances that we've seen, both in the capital, and fellow panellists have gone through those already, but also around the country, of just horrendous attitudes among some frontline workers, deeply misogynistic, judgmental of the children they're caring for, see them as troublemakers who can't be contained, basically, and what they get is what they deserve if they fail to follow the rules. I mean, that is the attitude that we've seen time and time again in so many cases. Luckily, some of them quite.
So the question is, with Rupert Lowe standing with Restore Britain saying we need a complete overhaul of the justice system, of government, everything, he's not really wrong. He's not really wrong. Whether you know much about Rupert Lowe or not, have a look into him, because it isn't just, oh, let's get rid of Keir Starmer. That'll solve it. It's the whole system. It's the whole system. As I said, sorry to go on about it, but the case with Henry Novak and the stabbing and the way the media is treating it, saying it's a far-right problem for people to get mad and everything else. A white kid has just been stabbed in the heart, lost his life, and your concern is that Nigel Farage made a statement about two-tier policing. You're more focused on that than the fact that a white child is dead. You're more bothered about that because you think he's creating divide. No, I'd say the people that are killing people are creating the divide. I'd say the people that can go to protests and not have facial recognition because the police favour that community over white English patriots are creating the divide. I don't believe it's English people who are creating divide. I think we've got every right to feel the way that we do. I mean, imagine it. Let's just say it. And I know everyone who's spoken about the Henry Novak case. Imagine it for a second that it was a young black boy of 14, 15 that was stabbed in the heart by 3 or 4 white kids. There would have been riots by now. And you could say, well, it kicked off the other day in Southampton. Do you not think it would have been the same? George Floyd had nothing to do with England, yet the whole of the UK went on these rampages. So why are we not doing it for our own then? And that's not me encouraging violence, but why are we not doing that for our white kid then? What's the difference? And they're saying there's nothing wrong and there is no discrimination against white people. I beg to differ.
That's a while ago, and you'd hope that some attitudes have improved. But there are also, of course, untold numbers of frontline workers who are trying their hardest. But I don't think we appreciate the threat that some of them are facing, the risk that they're enduring. It's not just about, trying to do the right thing. It's, if I do the right thing, might I be the victim of a violent attack? For the second time, I'll praise great work by the BBC today, but recently a report they did in terms of high street crime standards and licensing dealing with vape shops, organised criminal gangs that use these stores for widespread criminal activity.
Just to pause on what you just said then, threat of retaliation and violence. There was the Muslim lady, Candid with Lubna, who had a YouTube channel. I don't know if all of you know her, but we had her on here and done an interview of her early this year or late last year. And she was living in Leeds, which is the same town not Leeds, Luton. My apologies, Luton. She grew up in the same town as what Tommy Robinson grew up in. Now, this is a Muslim woman who spoke out, and she's still a Muslim. She spoke about and called them bad apples, the people that were committing these crimes against English white girls. She got death threats from her own community. She was getting death threats, and she's been getting threats, hence why you don't really see her on social media now, because she's got to risk the lives of her children just to speak out. Now, you could say, on one hand, oh, you could go, well, she's a grifter, she's this, she's that. No, she's one of the very few who's had the backbone to speak out. And I'm just going to say and she's a woman, because you don't expect that first and foremost from a woman in that community, because you know what will happen to them. But she risked it all and lost everything just to speak out. Now, I don't agree with everything. Mostly I do with what she was saying. But her heart was in the right place. So when you've got that community, and we're talking about grooming gangs from that same community, yeah, something will happen to these girls. So there is fear.
We're threatening these investigators, phoning them up at midnight saying, I will kill you. There's no doubt in my mind
There you go.
that care workers who are causing trouble will be facing that same level of intimidation.
And it's not me attacking the Sikh community either when you talk about Henry Novak. But his mum did take the knife. After he was stabbed, the parents did say on the video that we've all seen, no, there was no knife, there was no stabbing. So they lied to the police, they lied to emergency workers. God knows what would have happened if they hadn't turned up. And I said this to Ben yesterday. Would they have tried to dispose of the body? That's just my own thought process, my own mindset talking. Mate, I'm speaking crazy talk. I'm crazy. I'm mad. But what if emergency services hadn't been around and it was just the boy, the son, and the parents? Would they have gone, oh my God, we've got a dead white kid here? Because she hid the knife. They lied to the police. They lied to the emergency services. And you can't tell me there's not two-tier justice.
We have seen
A white family would be getting a long bloody time for that.
similar cases like around the country. Some of the social workers I spoke to you about before who wanted to come forward did so because enough time had passed. They no longer felt so much at risk to do so. They're no longer working in the sector. They no longer had that responsibility. I think that's something we need to understand. And again, we are relying on whistleblowers there, of course, and those who are very cautious about sharing these cases. But it does happen. If you see, cars pulling up to your care home, and you know that the men taking children away are ruthless, organised criminal gangs involved in serious violence and drug dealing, the movement of heroin and guns, and you are a care worker, who's gonna take that fight on?
You know what I mean? It all comes down to the same thing. It all comes down to the same thing. Threats, violence, and everything else. And the government are not doing anything about it. We're going to look into it. You've all been saying it in chat. We're going to look into it, but we're just going around in circles. And it's like you have to keep banging on about it and on about it for something to get done. So when it kicked off in Southampton the other day, I don't condone violence. I think most of us, with common sense, we don't condone violence. But to say that I'm not angry would be an understatement. When we watched that video the other day, I kind of stay away from a lot of the graphic stuff online, because when it involves kids, I'm a bit funny with it, I'm a bit... There's a couple of things I can't really handle, me personally. I can't handle racism, like real N-word, like really belittling, like the real deal. Not someone like, racism that we get thrown around on social media. Oh, you're far right, you're a Nazi, bollocks, whatever, mate. I'm talking about real, you're a pet, to an Asian person, and belittle, like the real deal that I know what racism is, that the real thing. I can't deal with that. I can't deal stuff with animals, and I can't deal with stuff that involves kids, like youngsters. And I find that very, very hard to watch with that kid the other day. More so that we know that knife crime is a big problem in this country, but the fact that what got me was the way that he was treated by the police officers trying to pull him up by his arms. The kid had been stabbed in the heart. Now, if people were to go and riot in that community, friends, family, if they were to do that, I couldn't sit here and go, why are they doing that? Because It's the same with the Axel Ruda Cabana thing. How many more times do criminals have to slip through the fingers or through the fingers of the authorities, the police, the government, prevent? How many more times does it have to happen till it completely blows up in this country everywhere? Is everyone going to be called far right? Is the entire country going to be called far right?
Thanks. And just, yeah.
I'll just add one point to that, which is to do with just how aggressive some of these care companies can be to whistleblowers with legal threats and all the rest of it. And what we really need to be doing, and this goes beyond, we need to protect whistleblowers in this country. Like,
I don't blame you,
too
Huey,
often,
at all, mate.
They are left to take it all on their shoulders. And we, as journalists, often have to kind of, you know, we try and persuade them to do it, but ultimately it's their choice. And I think in the care sector, when a whistleblower comes forward, that is really difficult. And they often know that there will be people with with a vested interest, sometimes with a criminal interest, that will try to silence them.
But what we mustn't lose sight of is that this has gone on for decades. Pointing fingers at anybody in particular isn't helpful. What we've got to do is to get everybody to accept that this is actually happening and try and find a way that we can stop it happening or find.
You know, it's really, really sad, but in a world of social media now, you need to have videos like what happened with Novak. People need to see it with their own eyes. People need to see the Manchester airport, the full video, not the one that the media put out where it was just the police officer kicking this poor defenseless Muslim boy on the floor. What a poor, innocent, sweet, innocent Muslim kid who's being attacked by the white racist police officer on the floor and kicking him in the head. That police officer should be sacked. He should go to jail for assault. He's evil. Oh, hang on a minute. I mean that boy headbutted someone just before at a coffee shop and beat him up? What do you mean that boy caved a policewoman's face in just before he got kicked in the head? So he assaulted and beat the living shit out of two people. Did the police officer go too far? Yes. In my heart, do I think the police officer went too far? In my opinion, no. Because I think the police in this country have had all of their powers stripped off of them. We've said it time and time again, and you can go, well, you're just old and you've got grey hair. But there was a time when I was younger and my parents were younger that they would have a baton and you would fear the police. Not that they would just come and attack you. I mean, you've got some idiots, obviously, but there was a respect for the police. Oi, son. Sorry, boss. Sorry, boss. I've had a few drinks. Oh, sorry. I'll put my glass down. I'll get on my way home. You're right. That's it. Move along, boy. Gotcha, mate. Fuck me, that was a close one. That's what the police were like. That is what the police officers were like. How many videos have you seen of the youth today abusing police officers, swearing at police officers, throwing things at police? They won't do nothing. They will call them racist slurs. They will call them names. They won't do nothing because they don't have that power to. So I can't understand why anyone now, even after that case, like Ben said, training is a big problem within the police force and how to handle these situations. You can't have 2 or 3 women. No disrespect. You can say it's misogyny. I don't really care. You can't have 2 or 3 ladies who are in their 20s dealing with a couple of kids. One of them might be an amateur boxer and something else, because things like that happen, like at Manchester Airport, and a woman gets beaten up. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see a female get her face smashed in. I don't want to see that.
Finding a way of dealing with this, because these poor children, I know you've spoken to many, I certainly have, and it is heartbreaking. And at some point, this has got to stop, and I would suggest sooner rather than later. I'm going to start off the questions. The next section is how offenders operate. You've answered some of this. Based on your research, how do grooming gangs in London operate in practice? So is there anything different? I know you've answered some of this. So
And it's not to be mean, Huey. It's the same with the armed forces. I don't believe women should be in a lot of the armed forces, because women and men, we're just different. And it's not It's not to say that women are better communicators. Women are better communicators. Men are blunt. I haven't got time to mess around. Move it, or I'll make you move, mate. Ladies will be a bit more respectful. Sir, can you come over here, please? Sir, can we just talk to you, please? Me, move over there, mate, or you get that around your head. That's the difference, because that's just men and women are very, very different in how they deal with things.
Repeat that. And under the grooming gangs you reported on, coordinate their activity. And you have actually mentioned how they all seem to, well, they don't all know each other, do they? One of the gangs I was dealing with, a multicultural gang, and to be fair, the girls weren't all white either. It was a multicultural thing altogether. And they were together, but they weren't together in that bond that we do see in some of the groups. So do you see that as any difference in London? Because obviously we're concentrating on London. Do you see that there isn't that family ties as much in some of the groups? I know we do have the Rotherham type model here, but in the other groups, are they much looser in connection with each other?
I think what you need to understand about with these gangs is that the members of the group will often be groomed themselves to be a part of it. So there's one group that operated. I'm not going to say where it was, but how that worked, that was generational. So that went back. There was a particularly vile sex offender who was operating in the 1970s, the 1980s. In the 1980s, he then kind of had a protege who then kind of assumed like a kind of leadership position within that. And then as we went into the 2000s, there was another group of young men within that area. And why were they connected? Well, they were connected through elements of criminality. They could be socially connected. And so I think we've got to be careful about saying this is the model or this is the way that it works. There are definitely, you get patterns you see repeated, but I think the most common pattern you get is the method of abuse, of targeting.
I'll tell you what, I would normally attack a journalist because I'm not a fan of journalists in general, but though he's probably doing this for himself, to give himself a bit of limelight, because that's what you do as a journalist, I've got to commend this guy because at least he's actually done something about it. It's the same as Rupert Lowe. At least they've independently gone, Daily Express, my bad, gone and done something about this and gone, look, we've got some data here. Here it is. And this is what we've seen with him, and what he's provided and what Rupert Lowe has provided is more than we've seen ever from the Conservatives or the Labour Party in the last 50 years. They've done more work and publicly shown it than the entire government system. What does that tell you about it?
These vulnerable young girls. And also just, it's like, these will be complicated networks that won't all follow the same pattern. And London is massive and complicated.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, London is, as Zach says, large and diverse, and the way that the gangs operate is diverse as well. There is obviously the targeting of vulnerable young people, predominantly in care, is a big part of it. As I think I mentioned earlier,
Jane makes a good comment there. She says that the Manchester airport with the two brothers attacked the male officer, and if he would have been on his own, he had the added distraction of protecting the two female officers, and it shouldn't be that way. That's not me belittling or degrading the women, but let's just be honest. 90%, 95% of your everyday woman is not going to get into a fist fight in her lifetime. It's not, when you're kids, a little scrap, whatever, girls have a drink more than men, but it's not really common play where you see women fighting men in boxing matches, unless you know what I mean, unless it's contact sports or whatever, it's mixed martial arts or whatever. It's showing them for what it is. And it's, as I say, it isn't just one thing. It's everything. And that's, I'm not just trying to be all doom and gloom, but it needs to be spoken about in order for things to get better. And it doesn't help that, as I say, I'm going to show you afterwards, it doesn't help that the government, the media and everything else are trying to put all of these things on a far right problem. Like, it's got absolutely nothing to do with it. It's got nothing to do with it. Like, could you imagine if 20,000 Sikh girls had been abused by, let's just say, skinhead white men over the last 30 years? There's skinhead white men groups that have been assaulting Sikh girls predominantly, like 95% Sikh girls. You wouldn't just go, well, you know, that's a bit of a Sikh problem, they've got to sort that out. No, you would go after the skinheads and say, what the fuck's going on? And you've got to get every single one of them and put them behind bars. So why hasn't it happened here then? That's the only question I have. Why has it not happened here then?
Hanging outside pupil referral units and places like that. And it is all sort of tied up, a lot of it as well, within the county lines model, where they are, you know, young boys.
Yeah, but I agree with you, Julius, to an extent. You're saying male-female officer discussion is pointless. I agree and I disagree. I agree and I disagree. We'll have to disagree, because I've been to a lot of football matches and it gets rough, you know? I've been to a lot of football games. If you've ever seen Galatasaray play, their fans ain't no joke. Yeah. I personally wouldn't want 10 female officers on the outside while the Galatasaray fans are there, or the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans, because they like a ruckus as well. I've just seen it with my own eyes. There is a difference. There is a genetic difference between men and women and what they're capable of. Someone just now said, Huey, my son is in the army and went to Afghan. I would have hated it if a woman was with him. She'd have slowed him down. And that's not in a negative light. That's from a woman's perspective. That's not hating or being horrible to women. But if you've got 4 guys carrying 10 bags of bricks on their back and the woman's got to carry it as well, she's going to slow down, because we're just built differently. That's not being horrible and what we're hating. It's just saying that we have to recognize there's a difference between men and women. And in this day and age, we're at the stage of arguing that men could be women, women could be men, and we're all identical and we're all the same. Let's just be honest. You'll never find a female Ronaldo or Lionel Messi. You're never going to have a female Frank Bruno. It's not going to happen. Or a Mike Tyson. It's just not going to happen. Serena Williams is a great tennis player. I used to fancy her a little bit, still do. Hold my hands up, sorry. She's got the big... But, touche. However, if she was to play, you know, someone on top of their game, there's no way she would have won. Djokovic versus Sampras versus Serena. What chance does she have? She's a brilliant tennis player and she will beat every single woman out there when she was in her prime. But she's not going to beat Djokovic. He's just faster. He's stronger. We're built differently.
Targeted to sell drugs and for other criminal activity, and girls are targeted for sex. So I think there is no, as Zach said, there's no one distinct model that we see. We see lots of different ones across the city, and certainly in my research, it showed that.
Yeah, I think the thing that I come to, right, is why is it on the children to be coming forward?
Yeah, yes.
All of them will have had adults, people in their lives that can see that and see it's wrong. Shouldn't be on them to come forward. I think that it's missing. The opportunities are always there at the time, and I refuse to believe that there'd be any situation where a child could hide that type of relationship all the way through to the point that they just realise it years later. There has always been some failing by the adults that were around that child to do something about it.
Yeah, and the shocking thing is, a couple of people in specifics were in care homes, and I think that's something we have got to be looking at, the evidence you're giving on care homes. And I said to one of the...
You know, I'll be quick. I'm so glad. She's Conservative, Susan, and when she ran against SADIQ KHAN in the last mayor election, and I 100% backed her to win, because I'd have Mickey Mouse in there, you know what I mean, instead of SADIQ KHAN, and I was gutted that she didn't win. I believe had she been doing these types of videos running up to the election, she would have got a lot more support, because more and more, like now, many of us have seen her face, Susan Hall. We've all been watching bits and clips and shorts, and she's always there. And I think she's a good woman. I do. I really like her.
Well, how were you allowed out? And she said, well, we used to say we're going to see our boyfriends, and they knew. And they knew they came back in the middle of the night. And I said, you know, when you think this can't be right. I said, well, didn't they say anything? Didn't they stop you? Didn't they try and talk to you about it? And they said, no, because we were with our boyfriends. And that's what they believed at the time. So one of the things that's definitely come out of this is I think we should be looking with regard to care homes. But there's so much we need to be looking at here.
But Susan, I think it's important to say, though, that it's like there will be people that might not have been able to protect the children. It's not always that they just accepted it. I think part of the problem is that a lot of these workers will probably be browbeaten by, like, oh my God, they raised the alarm to begin with.
I'm with you, Gary. She's
and then
quality,
nothing
man.
Happened,
I like her
or
a
they
lot.
went to their manager and they told them, and that's part of it. It's like these structural things that prevent people coming forward, or and that there are. We should always say so many fantastic people within that space too.
To some extent, it has already been answered, but I'll still put it to you. What was your experience working with and dealing with the Met as part of investigations, and how did this compare with other experiences you had across the country?
Now, if I could just, I know some of you have already answered this, so if you could keep it as short as you can.
I mean, I think that let's look forward, let's do better. I think it's been found lacking in areas, but we can improve it, we can do it. Let's give the Met the boost to go out and get a load of these grooming gangs and really do a good job.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard a lot from
his heart's in the
Commissioner
right
about
place,
how,
but they won't. We all know
there
it.
is improvements going on in this area, and I hope that they do come to fruition.
Third, both of those responses, I think the Met has demonstrated a greater interest dealing with this. They've demonstrated a greater sense of concern. I think what needs to happen now, obviously, to gain the trust of the victims and survivors who are speaking to us, is to see that interest turned into sufficient action.
Okay.
Yeah, I think very well spoken by all of them, to be quite honest with you. But the problem's going to be, like many of us feel, is that it's all good and well saying all of this, but I don't think anything's going to come of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't have much faith that something will come of it. I'm just being completely honest with all of you. That's just my view on the system. Right, we're going to jump to a next video, just sort of covering more of the same sort of more of the same stuff, and this is over on X, just videos I've got saved, bits and bobs. So let's just jump over to here, and you should now be seeing this screen. I might have to move that actually a bit for the other viewers. Let's just see if we can get a better. Oh crap! Sorry, mind my language. Let's just move it on this one a bit, just so it's a little bit better for you. Right, now you can all see it. Right, okay, here we go. So these are just a couple of videos. Hello, Sharon. Nothing will happen whilst Whitehall is how it is currently. I agree with you. I like the old stories of noble men of honour and duty. We all have them in the past, must never be forgotten. True honour, no slim business. Yeah, I agree, MSS. Cheers, Huey. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back again tomorrow at 7. Right, so we're going to continue on a little bit now for another 10 minutes or so. Get your views in and everything, and I'll read them out in chat. So this one here, I thought I'd show you, and then I'll read the post first, and then we'll watch the video. This is 5 Pillars, who I was talking to you about. It's ludicrous. How these have not been arrested, I don't know. Last night, GB News did a whole segment on 5 Pillars content on LGBTQ Pride Month without inviting us on to defend ourselves. That would be this person, Roshan M. Salih, who runs it. This cretin of a man, which he is. You're a cretin. He's anti-British, anti-white, anti-Western culture. He hates gay people, and he's just not a good human being. So I'm just calling it out. Last night, as I say, this is him, by the way, writing this. Last night, GB News did a whole segment on 5 pillars content on LGBTQ Pride Month without involving us, inviting us to defend ourselves. Instead, they chose Mohammed Amin to represent our point. Again, I don't believe you're owed anything. This is England. We can do what we like in England. If they choose to invite you on for an interview, you can choose to accept or decline. If they don't choose to invite you on, tough shit.
With young boys.
Why are we getting no
Do you
sound
think
on
it's a
this
little bit
one?
hypocritical of 5 pillars to come here and say that kind of thing and put that out there and maybe not confront some of those issues?
It's up to you. You should ask 5 pillars what their views are about what happens elsewhere. I'm here to talk about the guidance on their website, which is exactly the same as the mainstream views of the Catholic Church, of Orthodox Judaism, of Anglicanism, and I don't know what they publish.
Not Anglicanism. And just FYI as well, at the Catholic Church that I go to, I'm in baptism class with other people, and there's a gay couple in there. So I think you're wrong about that. I know you're wrong about that.
The problem is, and I'm just going to say it as it is, this might upset people. People that are Jewish, people that are Sikh, Hindu, Catholic, Christian, or whatever faith you are, it's written in most biblical books that being homosexual is a sin. It's in most books. However, society and humanity progresses through the ages. I will just say it as it is, and Islam does not. It does not progress through the ages. That's not me attacking Muslims, but they're reading by the concern, well, the book says this. Okay, if you believe that, you do not belong in England. That's not me being racist or hateful, but you don't belong in England because we're accepting it. Even if I was to sit here and say I'm not particularly happy with people being gay, or if I'm not particularly happy with being lesbian or particularly being trans, the whole point of this country is you can be whatever the hell you want to be. It doesn't mean that everyone has to accept it, but at the same time, you do not have the right to tell someone you're wrong to be gay. You're wrong to be, there's something wrong with you. It's bullshit. It's bullshit, and it needs to be called out. But when people like me call it out, you get called racist. But no, I'm not dealing with that.
Do you think homosexuality is a sin, out of interest? Do you think it's a sin?
I personally don't. I read a book about homosexuality and Islam written by a convert, and that had a major impact on my views, but it is the majority view of British Muslims.
Yeah.
And I believe if you ask the Archbishop...
Okay, and let me just ask this now then. Is that compatible then? Is that compatible?
It's not compatible with Western culture. It's not compatible with Western civilization because the majority of them don't believe that. Look at any story. I've never even covered it. I should cover it on the channel. Find someone who's a homosexual, gay, Muslim man who's living in England, and then someone who's living elsewhere, somewhere else in the world, and you'll see how they get treated. It's tragic. It's tragic that, you know, disowned by their families or murdered.
Yes.
Are compatible with modern Britain?
What, believing that it's in?
Yes.
Are you saying that Roman Catholics...
I want you to answer the question directly.
Jews?
I want you to stop deflecting about Jews and Christians, and I want you to answer the question directly about whether or not you think, if the majority of Muslims in this country, which you're saying they are, think homosexuality is a sin, do you think, personally, that is compatible with modern British society?
Yes, in exactly the same way that it's compatible with Jews and Roman Catholics, and I still...
No, it's not the same. It's not the same, because like I just said to you, I'm Christian. My sister's gay. It shocked my parents, and they were a bit distraught when she was younger, because it's like, oh my goodness, I thought she was straight. She always had boyfriends. But, oh well, my sister likes rugs. Good for her. We always joke about it now. I don't really care what she is. I just want her to be happy. Do you know what I mean? I just want her to be happy. We progress. Christianity and everything else progresses. We're not going to turn our backs on them. Every single person I know that's a Muslim, nah, sin. And it doesn't just mean the sin like, oh, it's bad. you're dead by your family or worse. It's not the same thing.
Maintain most Anglicans to believe that as well. That's simply a fact. Religious people, the majority of them believe it's a sin.
So there you have it. This is the 5 pillars of Islam and what they're pushing in this country. So if you're thinking, it's hateful and far right and Islamophobic to talk about these things, it's not. It's not, because if the majority of people are chanting this in mosques in England, what do you think they're telling young Muslim people and young Muslim kids? It's evil, it's bad. You know, if you meet someone like that, there's something wrong with them, or they're bad people. They're not. Like, I don't care if there's pride. It ain't my type of thing. I'm not going to go to bloody pride. I ain't gay. But I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, then people are evil. Like, if they're happy and they mind their business and do their thing, I don't care. If someone's trans, I'm like, look, as long as you're not encroaching and pushing on my space and telling me what I can and can't do, like the thing with protecting women, women should have their own spaces. Biological women have to have their own spaces. I don't want a man in there. I don't care. If anyone disagrees with me, that's your prerogative. Women deserve to have their own spaces. Protect women. I don't care. I just don't care. But this is what's happened in England now, where we've bent the knee so much in trying to accommodate others that, to an extent, we're squeezing out our own identity in order to be this multicultural society. No, I want it to be English in this country. England. English. Everyone else is welcome. If you're Chinese, North Korean, Hindu, Sikh, Australian, flipping Aborigine, Somalian, I don't care who comes here. I genuinely do not care who comes here, but you must fit into our way of life. Our way of life. What I'm seeing more and more now over the last 5-10 years is people like this trying to dictate or educate the English people and how we need to change and adapt to suit them. No, it doesn't work like that. That's not how it works. You come here, and if you go, I've got a mosque and this is where I pray, I'm like, good for you, bro. Someone goes to temple. I think it's Hindus go temple. Great. Good for you. You go to temple. Great for you, buddy. But when it comes down to someone being stabbed with a knife, one community, and I hate saying this, it doesn't bother me speaking out against Islam. It doesn't bother me because so many things have happened in this country where we can go, that's the reason it's happened. That's the reason it's happened. But it's a little bit different when it comes to the Sikh community or even the Hindu community, because there's never been problems like that with the Sikhs or Hindus in this country. Never. When's the last time you know of a Sikh person going on a rampage with a knife or going out and I don't know of it. No more than English white Christians, you know. It's not a common occurrence where you see Hindus front page of the news for a riot, Sikhs front page of the news for a riot. It doesn't happen. Chinese, Koreans, it doesn't happen because they're not a problem. They come here, mind their business, do their work, start their business. That's what this country's about, man. Do what you got to do. You're fitting into our way of life and doing your thing. Good for you. But yeah, it's getting to a stage where it needs to be spoken about more, and people need to speak out more. And it's not being hateful and it's not being nasty. As I said, I hate having to sit here and go, all knives should be banned, including the Sikh, the Kirpan. It should be banned in this country. Because I know the chances of this happening again is probably very unlikely. Very, very unlikely. But at the end of the day, I believe in equality for everyone. I believe in equality for everyone. If a Sikh person with a turban can walk down the street with a blade, I can walk down the street with a blade. Colin can walk down the street with a blade. Lincoln can walk down the street with a blade. Sally can walk down the street with a blade. No. Just him. Only him. All of you lot, the black guy, the Chinese guy, the white guy, none of you can do it, but he can. That's not equality, is it? It's favouring one. Well, in that case, in Christianity, then, my book says that I should carry a double-barrel shotgun. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Right, I'll leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about the technical difficulties. I'll get on that. One of those things. Yeah, it's nice to be back and in the swing of things. Finally getting my mojo back. I've lost my mojo. I'm finally getting my mojo back and being in front of the camera again. It's a bit weird being off the camera for 6 weeks, but life happens, family issues and my mental health and things happen, and I need to take breaks from time to time. But I'm finally finding my feet again. So I will be back again tomorrow night at 7 p.m. and this stuttering thing will stop by then because I'll get on the case with it. It's just one of those things. But for everyone that's joined that's a regular and all of those that are new, I welcome you. We're always open to all types of discussion on here, good, bad, and the ugly. Yeah, I will see you all again tomorrow night. Thank you so much for joining me. Peace and love. This is the Gavin Ramon Show signing out. I'm saying that again. Wow, imagine that. Oh yeah, I'm a streamer, boys. I'm a streamer. I do YouTube. I'm a YouTuber now, Mum. I don't know. I had to turn it off. I forgot. Whee! He's professional, isn't he? That's what I'm saying. That's how professional I am. Right, there it is. There's the button over there on the big screen. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 7 p.m. And yeah, it's Friday. So have a good evening. I'm going to go and finish the rest of my tandoori chicken. Peace and love, ladies and gents.